Your government makes money every time it prints money, and not in the way you think. Here's the peculiar part. When the US Mint produces a dollar bill, it doesn't cost a dollar to make. It costs around 5 cents. That gap between what something costs to produce and what it's worth is called seigniorage. And it's one of the oldest, most legal ways a government can profit from thin air. To prove this actually happens, let's walk through the evidence. Exhibit 1, the numbers. In 2023 alone, the US Mint produced roughly 10 billion coins and bills. If each one costs 5 cents to make but circulates as its face value, a nickel stays a nickel, a dime stays a dime, the government captures the difference. That's millions of dollars in pure profit year after year. Exhibit 2, this isn't new. Medieval kings understood this perfectly. They'd mint coins from gold or silver, but shave down the edges or dilute the metal. The coin still traded at face value, but the king pocketed the metal he saved. Same concept, different century. Exhibit 3, and here's where it gets weird, most of that seigniorage profit doesn't actually go to the treasury. It goes to the Federal Reserve. The Fed prints currency, sells it to banks at face value, and keeps the difference. The Fed then returns most of that profit to the treasury, but it's kept separate. It's a quirk of how central banking works. Exhibit 4, coins are where seigniorage really shines. A penny costs about 7 cents to produce but trades for 1 cent. A quarter costs around 7 cents to make. Over billions of coins, that spread adds up. It's why governments keep minting them even though they're expensive and inconvenient, the profit margin is real. But here's the catch. Seigniorage only works if people trust the money. If you print a bill that costs 5 cents but nobody believes it's worth a dollar, you've just created 5 cents of loss. The value isn't in the paper or the metal. It's in the collective agreement that it matters. That's why hyperinflation destroys seigniorage. When a government prints too much money, trust collapses. In Zimbabwe in 2008, the government printed currency so aggressively that a $100 trillion note became worth less than the paper it was printed on. Seigniorage flipped into massive loss. Now you might ask, can a government just print unlimited money and get rich? No, the moment they print too much, inflation kicks in, prices rise, wages rise, the purchasing power of each dollar shrinks. The real wealth doesn't appear, it gets redistributed. Think of it like this. If your bakery prints fake coupons worth 1 free loaf, and you give them to yourself, you've made 1 loaf for free. But if you print 1 million coupons and flood the market, people stop trusting them. The system breaks. The real mechanism of seigniorage is actually more subtle. When the government spends new money into the economy, say, paying a contractor to fix a bridge, that money enters circulation. It's new wealth in the system, created from nothing. That's the seigniorage moment. The contractor receives it, spends it at a store, the store owner deposits it at a bank. It circulates. It generates economic activity. The government got to inject purchasing power into the economy without raising taxes or borrowing. That's the profit. But, and this is crucial, if the government spends too much new money, inflation accelerates. Everyone's purchasing power gets diluted. Those who hold cash lose, savers lose, people on fixed incomes lose. Seigniorage becomes a hidden tax. That's why central banks are obsessed with inflation targets. The goal is to capture the benefits of seigniorage, funding government spending, stimulating growth, without letting it spiral into runaway prices. It's a balancing act. Other countries approach it differently. Japan kept interest rates near zero for decades, essentially letting the government borrow almost free money. The European Central Bank has strict rules about how much new money can be created. Each system reflects different philosophies about how much seigniorage is safe. Here's what makes seigniorage strange. It's invisible. You don't see a tax form. You don't see a bill. But if inflation rises 3% and your paycheck doesn't, you've effectively paid a 3% tax to whoever received the new money first. It's redistribution disguised as economics. The early recipients of new money, usually banks and large corporations, benefit first. By the time new money reaches regular workers, inflation has already started. That's called the Cantillon effect, named after an 18th century economist who spotted this pattern centuries ago. So what's the bottom line? Seigniorage is real. Governments do profit from creating money. But the profit isn't free. It comes from the erosion of purchasing power across the entire economy. It's a transfer of wealth, not the creation of it. Understanding how it works helps you understand why inflation matters and why central banks guard it so carefully. The peculiar case of seigniorage reveals something fundamental. Money isn't wealth. It's a claim on wealth. And when governments create claims faster than wealth grows, everyone who holds money loses. That's not a bug in the system. It's how the system is designed to work. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Subscribe for a new deep dive into how financial systems actually work. No hype, just the mechanics. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.